Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. We are live on Olympia TV. This is Femme Flex Friday. I'm your host, Wendy Fortino, and we have an amazing co-host today, the one and only, the voice of bodybuilding. Drum roll, please. We have Bob Chicherillo.
What's up, Wendy? How are you?
I'm good. So are you excited about the Arnold coming up?
I tell you how excited I am about the wellness division in particular. Right now, I am missing the beginning of the Ohio State-Texas game, which is on tonight. All right, they're almost down to the finals, the national championship. So I'm actually sacrificing that just for you and just for this wellness division. That's how important it is to me.
Well, we better make it worth your time because that is a lot of sacrifice.
Well, I don't have any money on this game, so yeah, that's fine. But listen, the season is vastly approaching, which is great because we get into December and January, and it really slows down, and you can tell by the headlines that are out. This past week, me and Sean, put out the season opener of the Voice of Bodybuilding podcast, and of course, we're all over the place. Sean's getting death threats, and God forbid he should have an opinion.
Right. I know.
You gotta love these guys, but you know what? Hey, there's a lot of passion on all sides, and when it comes to the sport, but you can tell people are jonesing for competition, and that usually starts every year at the Arnold, which is coming up. We've got, let's see, we've got just a few weeks. What are we? 7 weeks out?
I believe we are. Yes, 7 weeks. So, so we're 7 weeks out, and here we have the wellness lineup here. Let's see. I'm making sure. Okay, so we have the wellness lineup here, and before we start to kind of introduce these ladies, these beautiful ladies, I just wanted to say, there are two of the two largest shows in our industry. Obviously, we all know the Arnold Sports Festival and the Olympia. These are the premier shows of our industry. The Olympia being the largest, as it covers all the divisions. We have in the Arnold, we have the Wellness International, we have the Fitness International, and we have the Bikini International on the female side, which is what we're covering here on Femme Flex Friday. And the unique thing about the Arnold versus the Olympia is, for the Arnold, these ladies all have a special invite. So they put in an application, and then the Arnold selection committee selects, between 10 to 12 competitors for each division, which is really prestigious in its own way, versus the Olympia, which is you qualify by winning a contest, and there are, depending on the division, there could be anywhere from, like 30 to 50 pro shows, right? So that's kind of the unique dynamic of the Arnold versus the Olympia. So here we have our ladies, our lineup. Bob, you're gonna help me here. We have Isabelle Nunes.
Right? You're reigning Olympia champion.
Yep. We have Andrea-Ann Roy. And then Victoria Reyes Villa, Eduarda Bezerra.
Third place at the Olympia. I remember her. Sure.
Yep. Okay, you're gonna have to help me with this one.
But it's so small. Is it Hye Yoon Kim?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. She's a regular on the circuit. I see Alisa Alcantara.
So Lisa, she took 4th, I believe. Lisa, help me with this one.
Meiswinkel.
And then Sandra, Colorado.
Yep.
And Samara Walter.
You actually got names in there I don't even have. So
I'm doing.
You must have an updated list. I don't know where I got mine from.
I'm doing pretty good here, huh?
Yeah.
Sina, Maria, Teresa. These women are so beautiful. My goodness, we have such a beautiful lineup of women. Johanna Calcano. You may notice that we have Lily Dong is not on the list because I actually heard that she is not going to be competing. We have
Where
Wait a
is
minute.
I was gonna say, are we missing some?
Yeah, we
Where's
missed. Oh, Cassandra. She was.
Cassandra Gillis?
Yes, she was on the other side of Isabel. So we just had to scroll. So Cassandra, of course, we can't forget Cassandra.
Oh, there she is. Okay, I was gonna say I thought we were missing some. She's a perennial, top five finisher.
Yeah.
So definitely she's got to be in the mix. So how many do we have total? Do we have 10?
So we have. Yes, we have. I I wrote all the names down, but I didn't write the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
12 ladies. Yeah, they're usually 10 to 12. All right, so let's talk about the previous champs here because in 2022, the first Wellness International, we had Isabelle Nunes, who is now our Olympia champion. We're going to talk about that. Then we had Cassandra Gillis, 2023, and Francielle Matos. All right.
Last year. And interestingly, the only name on that list not in the Arnold this year is the defending champ in Francielle Matos. So I'm kind of curious. I don't know whether she intended on doing the Arnold. Certainly, if she applied for a invite, she certainly would have been invited as a previous winner and a previous three-time Olympia champion. So I don't know if you have any insight on what happened to her.
I don't have insight, but I think it's probably a strategic move on her part, wanting to maybe take a break. Maybe she's trying to make some improvements. Heading into the Olympia, she's qualified for life, so
Sure.
she doesn't have to do any other show. But it is interesting because here we have, and you remember this because you were front and center, but we had the top four, and everyone here is competing at the Arnold except for Francielle, right?
Yeah, this is pretty much a repeat of the Olympia of concerning the top 5 or 6. Then you've got some girls in there that are going to be making their way into the Arnold. This is so incredibly hard to judge these ladies because they're all at such a degree of muscularity at those lower bodies, of course, and even in their upper bodies. I mean, let's face it, they have the lower bodies, obviously, they emphasize the glutes, the hams, the quads. The upper bodies are really somewhere between figure and bodybuilding. They got some muscle up top, too.
I want to talk about that, actually, because when we start going through all the ladies in the lineup, there are some that I am such a fan of their physique, but I feel like, oh my gosh, are they starting to build a little bit too much upper body? Like, how do you start to counter that when you are just working on your physique in the gym? And now actually, one thing I do want to say about that is I did talk to a couple of the competitors who started the division when it first came out. And we had a conversation about how they felt like they grew up with the division, because if you think about it, the group of ladies that started this division, which was just in 2020, 2021 was kind of when it all began. The bodies were, less muscular overall. Over time, the women are evolving as the division is evolving. So naturally, you have women now who have been doing this division since 2020, 2021. So naturally, their upper bodies are going to develop. And now we're talking about how do we keep that from matching the lower bodies since they've been at it for so long. You know what I mean?
Well, let me just give you a little bit of background on this. So this is new to us, and by us, I mean the IFBB NPC, for about the last 4 years. A good 10 or 12 years ago, I was in Brazil with our good friend Dennis James, and we were there for one of our companies we were both with. And they had a whole big giant expo and the whole deal. That's the first time I had ever seen wellness. And we had no idea what was going on. We're just looking up on stage and we're like, what the hell are we looking at here? The weird thing was, it was even more of a disparity. These girls didn't work on their upper body at all.
Yeah.
So they were just thighs and ass and hamstring. I mean, that was it. They looked like quarter horses out there, but with no muscle up top at all. It didn't look like one girl. If you had a brick wall about 3.5 feet high and they were all standing behind it, you just would have thought it was a group of bikini chicks.
Yeah.
So it was a little weird looking, to be honest with you, because like I said, there was no muscle up top. So that's the first time we had ever seen that. We were like, what is this? And they said, oh, this is the wellness category. And we're like, oh, okay. And it took some years before it actually got here. But to your point, it has taken on a life of its own. And yes, the physiques do tend to get more muscular.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this. This is a problem. And I say this in a broad spectrum of judging,
Mm-hmm.
where the judges really have to make sure that there is separation of church and state when it comes to the divisions. Because it's very easy to meld them all together where they all start looking about the same, and you don't know a bikini girl, from a women's bodybuilder. And the minute that happens, you got bigger problems, coming your way. Now, we've all heard the argument. Well, you can only judge what's in front of you. The athletes are the ones that bring these physiques. We can only. But at the end of the day, it's up to the judges. It's not up to the athletes. It's up to the judges, especially at the pro level, because you do have the talent there to pick a particular physique that fits the criteria. Now, I say this because, with new things coming in now, with everything that tends to go up in bodybuilding, it's much, much easier to judge a physique that's more muscular and in condition. That's to me, that's like the default. Right. Okay. It's much harder to judge a physique in the middle. And what I mean by that is, okay, take something like women's physique. Okay. You can only be so muscular. As somebody who actually wrote the criteria for women's physique, I can assure you there are parameters that are in there that if they're followed, it only allows for a certain amount of muscularity. This is to differentiate women's physique from women's bodybuilding, which was obviously pretty much dead and buried at that time. So the judges are going to have they have their work cut out for them this year. And I really hope that they follow the criteria that are out there to keep separation between these groups, because without that, you're just going to have one physique is going to be a one physique wins all type of a thing. And we don't need that for a federation.
It is hard because when you see the most amazing physique on stage, it's hard not to reward that. But now, because there's so many different divisions, you have to really dissect the women based off of the criteria that you're establishing. I have to say they really got it right this year at the Olympia. I feel like they did. The judges did such an amazing job of tempering the criteria with the division, especially with the results of these are our top three, right? And these women probably had, they didn't have the most muscular physiques. The judges really got it right in making sure that Eduardo was arguably one of the least muscular on stage in the whole lineup, and she ended up getting third. And so, they really did a good job of making sure that they kept that integrity intact with this top three here. Interestingly, they all had such a similar look, right?
I got the girl in the red bikini.
Right. You can't go wrong if you pick the girl in the red bikini.
I got the blonde girl winning. Yeah,
you're probably three,
right. This was an incredible top three.
It was.
As it kind of unfolded. I mean, you could see this right in the prejudging that these three pretty much separated themselves from the pack. They all brought something just a little bit different to the table. Francielli is a consummate three-time champ. She's very difficult to beat. Isa really has brought up her physique, because even though she was an Arnold Classic champ from a couple of years ago, it was pretty much a 1-2 when it came to the Olympia between her and Francielli until this year. And then Eduarda comes out of nowhere. Now, I shouldn't say nowhere. She was undefeated, actually, coming into the Olympia, where she had never lost a show before, and you can see why. So coming into the Olympia, she was basically undefeated champ in her first Olympia. And I tell you what, third place was nothing to sneeze at. I could have honestly had her winning just as well. Nothing against Isa or nothing against Francielli, but she was that good. But this is really like one of those you pick them type of things, because they all have their own unique look. Like you mentioned, Wendy, she may not be as muscular, but she's put together so well.
Yeah.
She's beautiful to boot. That's certainly not helping, not hurting her cause. But all three just have just a little bit of uniqueness to their physique, where it becomes, okay, well, which one do you prefer?
Right. Yeah, you're right about that. Eduardo, she was one of the least muscular, and there was a lot of talk about that. But it was a really good message that the judges were sending on like, like, we need to scale down, and she was like at the right place at the right time. She came with just the right look, just the right level of conditioning, and exactly what the judges were trying to tell the women, this is what we want. And she showed up and
Yep.
she's like, is this what you're talking about? And they were like,
Right.
and it was kind of one of those things where, there was a lot of talk. Tyler had made, several posts and announcements about, how he wanted the women to kind of pull back a little bit on packing on the muscle, want to scale it down a
But
little bit.
But you know what, Wendy? I gotta say once again, you can say that all day long, but the control and the power is in the judge's pen
Yeah.
because ultimately they're the one picking it. And I would advise any judge in that position or any level, err on the side of the left, not the right. The problem is traditionally over time, and this isn't picking on anybody in particular or pointing out anybody in particular. It's just the way it is. Okay. But for 30 years, okay, it's been this. And the problem is it keeps going to the right because, again, it's so much easier to judge a muscular physique and somebody who's more in condition. Instead, the ideals of the physique, and I don't care what division you're in because it's exactly the same in every single division. Shape, symmetry, proportion should be your top three things. I don't care what division you're in. It's all based on the same ideals of proportion and shape and a nice looking body that's got proportion and it's got a shapely look. If you're in the figure, which you probably represent, the details are right in the name. The name of the division is figure.
Yeah.
So shouldn't that be really high up on the list of what you're looking for? And
Right.
listen, you know this as well as I do because you've competed at the Olympia for 10 years now. Every 2-3 years, you get that little memo that says, "Hey, come on, ladies, we're getting a little crazy. We got to scale it back a little bit, right?" But ultimately, if they pick that girl and she's more muscular, it sets the whole thing backwards because then all the other girls who lost sit there and go, "Well, that's what they got. So I guess I got to get a little bit bigger." I thought they've had opportunity years ago. I thought to point to a direction I think should have gone. Candace Lewis, in my opinion, from years
Yeah.
ago, when people you can look her up if you don't have that great of a memory or you weren't around back then. How this girl didn't win. It's completely beyond me. But then again, I looked at Janet Leahy in her first couple Olympias, and I thought, how is this girl not winning when she epitomizes every single thing that you're looking for
Right.
in that division? And quite often the answer would be, and again, you've heard this, I know, Wendy, in your competition capacity. Well, she just wasn't conditioned enough. And it's like, well, why does conditioning seem to be worth 80% of the score? It's
Yeah.
like, well, how about the other girl doesn't have her shape or symmetry or proportion?
Right.
Those things should be scaled up when you have a division like figure or like bikini,
Yeah.
or in this instance that we're talking about in wellness.
Yeah. Well, interesting you say that because actually I do want to go down the list of ladies, and after hearing your first impression when you very first saw it in Brazil,
Sure.
that was interesting, and then your
That it
your
was.
your kind of take on how it's evolved to now. It's going to be interesting to hear your thoughts on all the ladies as we go down, because I do think some of them are on tinkering on that,
Yeah.
they do have very developed upper bodies, but their physiques are so amazing that it's like, what do we do, right? We are going to start here. This is our fourth place from the Olympia, Alisa Alcantara.
Alcantara. Yeah, this
Okay, did I say that right?
sure. You could be emceeing the next show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I actually do talk to you about getting some advice on that, because I am trying to get better about getting names right.
rock and roll, man. Listen, there's way too many shows and way too little good MCs. So I applaud it, and absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I'll call you when I need it. Just trust me. So we have Alisa Alcantara. She was fourth in the Olympia. Okay. Incredible physique. Very well put together. That the interesting thing is here, she was fourth, and I can see her moving up. But to your point, she does have a very developed upper body. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Well, wellness is interesting in that, again, here in America over the last, since we inserted it in, the upper body physiques have definitely gone up in terms of muscularity. Now, I don't particularly have a problem with that, quite
I
frankly.
love it. I think it looks
Well, from what
beautiful.
I saw, when me and DJ saw these girls years ago, when I tell you, I wish I had pictures. He actually might have pictures from back then, but um, these girls were a little strange looking, to be honest. Again, when I say, Wendy, that they were all legs and ass, that's it. I mean, it looked like they trained glutes and thighs and hamstrings
Yeah.
8 days a week and never touched upper body. Like when I say they had no upper bodies.
But hang on, I have to push back a little bit on you because I know, and I'm like you, your preference is a totally balanced physique. I mean, I love that too, but the wellness division really is supposed to be an imbalance. The lower body.
This was beyond imbalance.
Just
This
beyond.
looked. I'm telling you, Wendy, it looked weird. Like it was like
Okay.
one of those things where you're like, okay, like there was. When I say no muscle, I'm talking they didn't train upper body, nothing.
Interesting.
So it was too much of an imbalance. It was just lower half. It looked like it belonged on, on somebody. It looked like the Minotaur,
Yeah.
So
kind of,
I'm all for a little bit more muscle on the upper body, like these girls have gotten, as long as it doesn't get crazy. Because again, some of these girls could take those heels off and very easily go in women's physique and hit a couple of front double biceps, and you got a competitor on your hands. But this girl, there's a reason she's fourth in the Olympia. Okay, top four in the world is an incredible achievement, especially when you got those three that we've talked about in front of you. So she fits right in there. A little bit more fullness to the glutes. If you look at her in comparison, the other girls have a little bit rounder, a little bit fuller glutes, and the upper bodies are a little bit scaled down. But we're nitpicking here. Once again, she has picked the right color suit. Red seems to be the way to go. At least at the last year's Olympia, in the top 4, 5, 6 girls. But it's hard to find fault with some of these competitors. Again, we're talking about the Olympia. We're talking about the top competitors in the world at what they do. So we're nitpicking. We are splitting hairs literally of what is the difference between this girl and that girl, or any competitor for that matter. But in this case, let's stick with wellness. And because we don't have a set criteria, so to say, all right, our judging is based on your opinion.
Right.
Okay. And you just might have your own ideal of, barring the criteria of what it should be based on. Again, proportion, shape, symmetry, that type of thing. You just have a particular look that you like as a judge. And listen, these are the best judges of the best. I mean, they do everything they can to ensure, fair judging. We throw out at least 3 highs and 3 lows at the Olympia level. Sometimes they can go more. And that's to ensure, for those wanting to know how the scoring process works.
Right.
That's why some of the stories, I always get a kick out of the conspiracy theories and this judge, she's from the same country. It's like, listen, everybody's got a girl in 5th, and this is judge, number 2 has her in 1st.
Yeah.
That score is going to get thrown out. Okay. The highs and the lows. That's why they do that. So it'd be very difficult for anybody to go up, or let's just say I went the other way. They say, they don't like her, type of thing.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Sandy always says, you could have your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother on the judging panel, and it still wouldn't skew the score because they throw out, like you said, the 5 best and the 5 lowest, and then they take the rest, and so it's really difficult to skew even if you have your BFF on the panel. So it's very fair, very fair.
Exactly. Yeah, they're looking for a consensus. Okay, they're looking for a mean average. For all those going back to your math class, that's what you're looking for. Okay, that's the best we can do in this game, because I wouldn't mind seeing a more sophisticated system, maybe somewhere down the road where there's actually deductions for things, because it would make it a little bit clearer.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, when you think about something like swimming or gymnastics or any sport that has an element of opinion.
Well, no, it would be really difficult to do deductions because it's a relative sport, right? You have relative scoring. I mean, you someone on stage has to win. So that's always going to be your standard. And then everyone else it's like a bell curve based off who's on that stage. So it would be hard to deduct or like judge based like a score system.
It wouldn't be hard at all. I could sit there and deduct. Let's say I had the guys up there.
Yeah.
But I got guy number 1 who's blocky as anything. And I got guy number 2 who's put together like Bob Paris and a Greek god, right? Well, you're going to get when I say deducted, I mean, you're not going to beat, let's just say the guy's muscular is all get up, but he's a square, right? Well, you're only going to, even if you use the placement system still, he may only place 5th in the symmetry round, which means you're basically getting deducted down because you're built like a square, right? You're not symmetrical, or you're not proportional, or whatever the case might be. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of deductions. It's,
what if you had like a local show and everybody got a score of 0 because they got like a full, every single person on stage got a full deduction? Then what do you do from there? How do you?
Well, listen, I've been saying this for many years. It's not who's got the most amount of strength. It's who's got the least amount of weaknesses.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're at the local level, listen, you've been to as many shows as I have. That's tougher judging than anything because you don't have the talent level sometimes. Like people go, oh, that's what they're looking for. It's like, well, wait, no, it's not necessarily. That's what happened to be there at the NPC, Mr. Main Street, and that's what we had to choose from. Somebody has to win. And somebody, at the end of the day, it might not be the ideal. But by the time you get to the Olympia level, listen, you've got 5, 6, 7 girls that could easily be jumbled up into that top 5. Again, you're nitpicking and splitting hairs as to what separates those. You have the talent level at any pro show, pretty much, and definitely at the Arnold and the Olympia. So there is no excuse at those 2 top level shows that we have not to pick somebody there has the ideal or as close to it as you can get. And sometimes that girl's in towards the middle. It's not the top. Yeah. Because again, you can be too muscular. And you need to be marked down for it if that's not what the division that you're in or the class you're in, whatever the thing might be. If that's not what it calls for, if you're in women's physique and you look like a female bodybuilder, that should work against you, not for you, because again, this is not women's bodybuilding, it's women's physique. Same thing for figure, same thing for bikini, same thing for any division that we have.
Right. Yeah, this is where we find our standards. That's what makes it so exciting. We have these women, and some of them are newer to the Arnold stage or the Olympia stage. I say either one because these are the 2 largest stages. For example, Andrea-Ann Roy, newer to the bigger stages and great physique, beautiful look. I think that she has a lot of room to grow. I think because she's so well put together, I think that once she gets a little bit more density in her glutes and her hamstrings, she's going to be one to look out for. I'm glad that she got an invite to the Arnold because with her look and her structure, it will be really awesome to see how she stacks up with the rest of the lineup,
She looks great. Like you said, you're dead on. I mean, glutes need a little bit of fullness, roundness. The difference between her and those top 3, 4 girls we keep referring to is those girls look like cartoon characters. Yeah. Their waists are tiny. They got those round glutes and those the thighs, but it flows. It has to flow together well.
Yeah.
And that's what separates a lot of those girls at the top. Is you can have all those things individually. Like we've all seen bodybuilders over the years who had great individual parts, but the sum of the total, something was off. Like it just didn't flow right. It's like the guy's got a big back, but it just doesn't like flow. It doesn't look, like when you're a bodybuilder, and I say bodybuilder in the broad sense, we're all bodybuilders, right? A good physique when it walks out. Yeah. You and I could be sitting at a show, and I don't care what the class is, and you can pretty much pick out the top people. The second they start walking, they're not even in position yet. You go, let's watch this guy. Oh, look at this girl. Oh, she's in the top 3. Yep. Because symmetry, proportion, shape.
Sometimes it's hard to tell. Like that's why it's good for some of these girls to get on the big stage, because I know from experience that sometimes you can look so good by yourself, but it is a game of comparison. And you really can see, and this will happen whenever you saw Phil Heath in person, for example. It was like he looked awesome in photos, but when you saw him on stage next to everyone else, that's when you could really tell how 3D his muscles were, how much fullness he had, the sheen, just like the quality. It when it's compared to another physique on stage, that's why, getting on these big stages can make a world of difference, because you're being compared to somebody else that has that impressive pop. And now you're able to see like what you need to work on or how you stack up. And, here we have Brenda Victoria Reyes Villa. I hope I'm not butchering her name. But she was in the 23 Olympia. It looked like she took some time off, but she's coming back, and exciting to see her get the invite. Great physique. This was, a couple years ago. So I'm curious to see what she has improved on, what she's worked on, what she's going to bring to the stage. She's got a great structure, and I think who knows? I mean, with 2 years, what can happen in 2 years? A lot.
You can do a whole lot in 2 years, especially these girls, because they focus on that lower body is more than the upper body. So a lot of attention to the glutes, of course. Listen, that's what wellness is, right? It's glutes and legs, and a shapely body, a little bit rounder and all that. You'll see that again, compared to the top girls, if she's made any improvements, it's going to have to be in the roundness of the glutes, the sweep of the legs. Again, just separation of muscle groups by at the same time having an overall flow that looks very nice.
Yeah.
You can be separated, but again, if there's no flow to it, it just looks like a collection of parts.
Yeah. Posing makes a big difference too, because I do feel like with her posing in her front pose, if she had this foot out just a little bit more, it would open up her leg volume a little bit. And I think that could go a long way. And then also from the back, it looks like her legs are locked out here. And you don't want to bend your knees so that it's obvious that your knees are bending, but if she just slightly loosened her knees up, softened the knees, she would get a little bit more torque out of her lower back. That's the thing. It's like when you soften your knees, you get a little bit more torque in your lower back. And that's kind of where you could get a little bit more of the medius glute here. That, and also the sweep of the quads rounds out a little bit when you soften the knees. Like, see, it's kind of straight down, shoots down. You soften the knees, and then this rounds out a little bit. So this with her, I mean, if she's listening, Brenda, you have an amazing physique. When you're posing, if you just made those small adjustments, I mean, I think it would open up your legs like crazy.
Oh, listen, we've all seen people over the years. It doesn't happen often, but I have seen it, where somebody with a superior physique lost a show because literally they couldn't display their physique. The posing, it's mostly with the guys. The girls are way better when it comes to posing.
I mean,
but hey, listen, I have seen guys blow it. I've seen guys lose competitions because you could see they had the muscle. You can see it's like, this guy, if he could but he's not pulling his lats out. He's squared up when he's doing he's already blocking. He's doing a front on ab shot. He's not showing his legs. Like you say, it's the same type of thing. The girls work way more on their posing, as it's very obvious and evident on stage. But everything you just said was spot on. That girl, just that little break to the knee. Not enough that it looks like you're a football player, grabbing the ball from the center, but it makes a difference in how the glute goes into the hamstring. Which with those straight legs, what happens is the glute kind of lengthens, goes right into the hams, and it looks like you don't have enough glutes.
Right.
Even though you do, because you're not making them pop. And I'm no expert on this stuff, but I do see a lot, and I can tell. From talking with experts like yourself, it's like, oh, well, you got to bend the knees. All you got to do is sit with a top pro girl and watch a show, and they'll explain everything there.
Yep. But you have a really good kinesthetic awareness. I mean, you don't have to physically do it, but when you see something, you can problem solve, because based off what you're looking at, okay, you're problem solving because of your natural.
The ideals are the ideals. I don't care what division you're in. It doesn't make any difference.
I thought you said if you give me heels.
Well, other than that, I mean, that's.
You said ideals. I thought you said if you give me heels.
Hey, listen, here's a little tidbit for you. When we first put in women's physique, there was speculation whether we would have them wear heels or not.
Oh, were you you?
I
Yeah.
didn't want them. I'm like, no, that's going to look. There's some weird European
Yes,
federations that do that. If you've ever seen a girl hitting a front double body with heel, it's very weird looking.
it is a little bit odd. Yeah, I will
It's
say
very
that.
awkward. Yeah,
I
it's like
think that
no.
the way the
So
criteria is in all the divisions has really worked out well. I think that they all are starting to form their own unique, vibe and essence. We are really, I mean, the wellness division has been around long enough to where I really feel like we are gaining momentum on a true essence of the division, especially after the Olympia, seeing how the judges just nailed it, I think, with tempering that division and really like maintaining that integrity that we're all been talking about. Um, Here we have Hye Yoon Kim.
mhm.
Okay, she was in the Olympia. She looked great on stage. Um, I love her. I love her development. I think she has a really good like lower body to upper body balance for this division. But again, the lot on her physique can improve with just like a couple posing tweaks, right? Um,
Needs a little bit of posing up, but more than that, she's not quite at that level that these other girls are at in terms of her development. You can see her legs are very slight. Again, the glutes once again. Um, the beauty of international competition is you get competitors from all over the world, and some girls, quite frankly, are more suited for this division than others, as you're well aware.
right.
Brazil represents in this very well. Colombia, Venezuela. You could just go right down the list of what types of physiques have a certain look, and those are made
Yeah.
for those type of girls. It's very much more difficult from quite frankly, from girls from the Nordic countries. Listen, even here in America, um, you pick
Yeah.
out. There's two, three Brazilians in a thing. They are just built more conducively for that division than a lot
Yes.
of other girls are. That's just the
But
way it is.
don't you think it's an advantage though? Like if you have a exotic look and
Sure.
you're like standing out from the pack, maybe you're like from Asia or you have like just like a look that maybe
Yeah.
isn't consistent with the rest of the girls. I feel like that could be an advantage because you always want to be on stage with your own unique look that really makes you pop. Um,
Absolutely.
if you're, if you have some unique qualities to your physique that maybe like, other people in your culture don't have, it really like it could really stand out on stage.
It
Um,
can. Yeah. You just again, different ethnicities have different types of looking physiques, and
yeah,
it's just a matter of overcoming whatever that is that weren't blessed with or you were blessed with.
right.
And listen, it's a lot easier for some than others, but if you can, then yes, absolutely, it
Yeah.
can make you stand out, and you'll get somebody who just really pops, when they come on that stage. But
Yep.
listen, good for her. I mean, she's got some real tough competitors in front of her, and in this
Yeah.
competition, again, it's a almost a complete mock-up of the Olympia. So this is not
Yeah.
an easy lineup coming up here in 7 weeks.
Really fast, Issa. I see Issa's here. Issa, we're saving you for last. So stick around. Don't go anywhere because we are saving you for last. Okay. Samara Walter. I love her physique. She's beautiful. She has just a really good flow in her lower body. Um, I think, with her, I think if she was just a little bit more like from this photo right here, if she were just a little bit more conditioned and had a little bit more sheen, so
Yeah.
a little bit more fullness, a little bit better conditioning, I can see her, chopping it up with those top girls. So again, like, you see someone so beautiful with such a great physique and like well, it really depends on what happens between this show and the Olympia because they've got the goods, they've got all the elements, and now what is going to happen between here, for example, and the day of the show? Someone like her, it's kind of there's a lot of possibilities, right?
She's got her work cut out. Again, she's in that same type of ball as and level as Hye Yoon Kim. Not quite, needs to level it up. Not quite up there yet. Again, another year or two. Needs a little bit more muscle. Like I said, needs a little bit of everything. And again, we're nitpicking. This is the pro level, and that's what we do when you're talking about the Arnold and more importantly the Olympia. She's on her way. I mean, literally, she's got all the structural things that you need to take that next step.
Yeah.
Just needs to take the next step.
Right. Somebody mentioned that I used a picture of Alisa from Pittsburgh Pro instead of the Olympia. Honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm honestly like, when you look at photos of all the athletes, there are so many photos out there. It's like trying to pull the best photos of each athlete. We do our best, and to get a representative physique of each lady. So there's nothing behind that other than trying to
listen. The girls. Let's keep things real here. The girls don't change that much. I mean, what you see is what you get for the most part. Yes, they do make improvements and all that, but it ain't like the guys. I mean, listen, you get guys that look hugely different from one show to the next.
Yeah,
and the
true.
bigger they are, the more apt they are. If you smooth out or gloss over, listen, it's doomsday for you on stage. But you'll get a guy in the men's Olympia type of thing who can look vastly different from morning till night. The girls don't have that big disparity.
I would say I can understand. That's why I wanted to address it, because I can actually understand. There are some shows where I definitely feel like my physique is way better. Other people may not be able to notice that, but I do. So I would probably, like, if somebody used a photo of me that I didn't feel like was my best, I might feel like frustrated about that. But it's hard because other people don't necessarily know that. And so, it's really difficult because only I know that this is my best photo and that's not. So, we do our best here. There's nothing against anybody. We're just, we're trying to get a representative. But I do understand. I completely do.
And listen, we're handicapping on their potential. Listen, no matter how you dice it, like you said earlier, this is a game of comparison and only comparison. What you look like out there on your own means absolutely zero. Okay, and I'm keeping it real again on stuff like that. I can see a time in the future where we either don't do individuals or because honestly, I hate to say it, but it doesn't mean a lot when you're out there on your own. The judges are literally just waiting for you to get next to somebody so they can go, okay, I like this one. Let's put her next to her. Let's see what, how they compare. Oh, I like this one over here. That's what they do. Everybody on their own looks fantastic, especially at the Olympia level. I've seen people come out, okay, and I'm closer to them than the judges are, that I'll go, wow, like this girl nailed it. Or, man, this guy looks fantastic. Holy crap, I can't wait. But I can't, obviously, until you get them next to each other and you got a front-on shot of them. And then you can see when they get there, you go, wait a minute, I thought this guy was kind of, until I saw him next to the other guy,
It's true.
Big difference.
It's really true. I mean, one example. So, but you can see a lot on the individual photos too, because you're looking at the overall, the shape and the symmetry.
Oh yeah, you can spot a damn good physique, but you still got to get them next to each other.
Yes.
But you can tell, like we talked about, you can. The second the girl walks out, the guy whatever the case might, you go, oh, this guy's in the top three. Oh, this guy might win and you can be pretty dead on. I mean, you'll be within a spot or two until you get them. You obviously start comparing apples and apples. But look at the difference here. You talk about again separation of the glute and the hamstring. She's got that little cock to her knee. That's all the difference of what you were just saying right there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, seriously. And we'll go back to the comparisons for everyone asking. I'm going to go back to the comparisons of the top three from the Olympia after we kind of just go through these women really fast. But we have Sina Maria Teresa. She's qualified for the 25 Olympia. And she is, I mean, she just like came out like a lightning bolt in the wellness division. The thing about her physique is she has a little bit more muscle in the upper body, but I think it looks so good on her physique.
Works for it, yeah.
Because she doesn't have like really wide set shoulders. She's like a little bit more narrow, which is the perfect structure for wellness. She's like a little bit more narrow, tiny waist, and then she has all that development in her lower body. So on her physique, like to your point, it's like sometimes it depends on the physique that you're talking about. On her physique, it really flows. I think she's nailing it. and she has longer legs, so she can hold a little bit more muscle. I am really excited to see how she stacks up because she does pop a lot. I mean, you see her pop by herself. We haven't seen her with the other ladies yet, so she's going to be one to watch out for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, she's a superstar in the making. May it be long before she's right up there. And the brunettes need somebody representing up there. They're
right.
The blondes have taken over, much to your chagrin, I'm sure.
Yes, I know. So, it is. I don't know how the judges, do it though, because it honestly, everyone looks so incredible. I mean, every one of these women are just insane. All right, so let's actually talk about. Let's go with Cassandra. So Cassandra, I actually saw her at the Legion. She, I think she took third at the Legion, but she came back. She came into the Olympia just like a lightning bolt, also, and she snagged eighth place, I believe, at the Olympia.
Yep.
But she also won the second Wellness International in 2023. So we are all have our eyes on Cassandra. She's an absolute superstar, and a lot of people are going to want to know what she brings to the stage.
Well, Cassandra's she's like one of the early girls who found some success right off the bat. She was winning shows right as soon as we put this category in. She was one of the front runners. She's a little bit thicker, which helps her and hurts her at the same time. She's got to be careful with that because she tends to look a little bit fuller than the other girls. But she has weathered the test of time. Since I know it's only been 4 years, but a lot of changes happen in that 4 years. Listen, we've seen it with other divisions. We've seen it with men's physique. Just in a short 4 or 5 year span. Mark Anthony, who was our first ever champ, all of a sudden couldn't make the top 15.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't understand. Like, what happened? It's like, well, nothing happened. The competition just exponentially got better over those first 3-4 years. That's what's happened in this division. She's still hanging in there. Listen, she's still got some gas in the tank.
Yeah.
She came in a little bit more streamlined at her last show, which helped her out a little bit. But she's hanging in there. The first champs are always the toughest to hang on because, again, the level of competition goes up very quickly in a new division.
Did you notice that she switched her color from red to green?
I applaud any color. I know they put a lot of, and listen, I know you girls are, I've been around enough of you to know that there's certain color that, certain girls like on them. They think it lends a little bit more, but every once in a while, somebody will come out and stun everybody with some off, like, who was it that came out a couple of years ago with the black?
Oh yeah.
Help me out here.
I can't remember, but I do remember. I remember black. Yes.
I'm drawing a blank on her name, but
that's okay.
And all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh my, wow, that looks fantastic. It's like, yeah. Listen, explore. You got a lot of colors in the rainbow. Now, I agree. There are some colors you do want to stay away from. White is an absolute no-no, whether you're a guy or a girl. It looks like you're out there in your underwear. So I highly suggest.
I've seen a couple people pull white off. Actually, I've seen white do well, but maybe not the best choice.
Pro-tan alone will tell you stay away from white, right? It might look good for a minute or two, but the second you start rubbing around and moving, things are moving. White is difficult to pull off.
I personally like green. I think you know that.
Yeah, so I know you like. See, but green looks great on you, though, right? That's a color. That's a power color. If it goes with again, you got the light eyes and all that type of stuff. Great. Yep. I wouldn't mind seeing some more colors. Explored with that. Again, yellow is a little difficult sometimes. It gets a little in your face, kind of bright. You don't want this. There's a fine line for competitors.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between. You don't want the suit to be the best thing about you.
Yeah.
When you come out. And I say this more in deference to the girls because guys don't really give a crap. They want a pair of trunks that fits okay and it looks decent. Okay. Whatever color, it's usually up to the suit maker. They're like, why don't you try this? But girls put a lot more stock and a lot more money into these suits. And the problem is the fit is what's important.
Yeah.
If the fit is proper, it can lend to your physique. We've all seen suits that didn't fit properly and it can take away from your physique. But you don't want the suit to be the most outstanding thing about you. You want it to complement your physique. That's
true.
the difference.
Yeah. Well, back to red. Lisa Meiswinkel. Am I saying that right? Lisa
Meiswinkel. Yes, I remember her.
I am such a fan of Lisa's physique. I saw her also at the Legion. I was doing a commentary at the Legion. So like, you know, when you're there, that's the thing about seeing photos versus being in person. When you're able to see these women in person, it can sometimes change your whole world and what you're looking at.
Yep.
So we're doing our best with photos here, but let me tell you, go in person if you can. Because I saw Lisa in person at the Legion and she blew me away. She has, like you were talking about, that quality, that pop, that cartoon, just next level, you know, flow and fullness to her physique. I absolutely can see her, you know, stacking up with, you know, Isa and Eduardo. I can see her up there, Alisa. They're gonna all. I feel like she's gonna be up there in the mix for sure. Definitely one of the top finishers. This one.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of critique. I mean, I've seen her a number of times on stage, and she's fantastic. You can see she's got the pose down. Again, just that little bit of bend in the knee from the back. It's enough to separate those glutes out, but she looks fantastic. She's very well put together.
Yes.
She's another one. She's a superstar. She's going to be right there with these other girls. The only advice I would give her is keep doing whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
Because it seems to be working. It's just a matter of time. But
yes.
I suspect she'll be right there in that first call out at the Arnold.
She's very polished too. Like her posing, everything, it just flows. She has such a polished look to her whole presentation, posing, flow. All right. So we have we brought up Eduardo, but I don't know if we totally. So let's go back to Eduardo because she's kind of a lot of people are talking about Eduardo because she placed third and she's a little bit newer to the scene. So a lot of people have their eye on her. So after looking at some of those physiques, we come back to Eduardo again, a little bit less muscle, but exactly what the judges are asking for, right?
Listen, I honestly had her winning the Olympia. When she
Really?
came out after round one, I was like, oh, we got a new winner.
Wow.
She brought everything that she was supposed to bring. I mean, again, she brought in an undefeated record. I could see why. She's put together like a, quarter horse out there. Again, these girls are just at such a level, but she's got beautiful shape and symmetry and proportion, and she's a looker. She's a very, very beautiful girl.
Very beautiful.
Again, just she did everything right. There's nothing more she could have done.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that people have to understand, especially the fans, because the fans are crazy out there, as you know. And that's great. Listen, we all appreciate the craziness and the passion that they bring, but they have to understand something. Sometimes there's nothing somebody could have done. Like, for instance, Eduarda came in there, looked fantastic, nailed it 100%. The top three girls nailed it 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody beat anybody because somebody was off, or like for instance, at the end of the show, Eduarda comes up and says, "So I took third, and that's great. So what do I need to do?"
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the answer is nothing. There's nothing you can do about the other. There is no defense in bodybuilding. Okay, it's just a different look. You have a different look than Franciella. You have a different look than Denisa. Okay, you all just have a slightly different look. So is there anything she could have done to have won? It's like, well, as we just talked about with the judging, sometimes it's just a preponderance of the scoring. If she had gotten one more first place vote, okay, that might have propelled her, to be second or even first for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you got, the thing that can kill you the most in the judging is parity in terms of, like, if a lot of people had you in third,
mm-hmm.
even though the highs and the lows got taken out, you ended up with a couple of threes on there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where it's going to settle your score down a little bit. If most of the people had you in second, well, obviously, again, preponderance of the scoring, but it's the extreme highs or the extreme lows. Let's say somebody had her in fourth or fifth. That would have gotten thrown out anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. And if she got a handful of first place votes, which I'm sure she did, those would have gotten thrown out. So you end up again with that mean average in the middle. Is there anything any of these three girls could have done to have come in better, in my opinion? No. I just think this was just a judge's decision of, and that's how the scoring went.
Well, in retrospect, it's always like, for me, I always think about it after the fact, because you look at the results and you kind of assess it and you go, okay, what was it that was swaying their decision, right? And I mean, when you look at this photo,
Right.
I think I have them all caught in that moment together. It's interesting to me because Eduardo has a little bit less density, okay, in her lower body. She's a little bit newer muscle, right? Francielle has very, very developed glutes, like the most development of the three.
Correct.
And then you have Isa, who is very dense, a little bit less development than Francielle, but almost like you can almost after the fact go, okay, I get this. This makes sense. We have, the newer muscle, we have the very developed muscle, and then we have the just right, like the kind of right there, right where the judges were like, this landed in the bullseye. Bingo. Right here.
Yeah, I completely agree. She was kind of in the middle. She had the best of both worlds, right? Like she had the muscle, but she also had the shape and all that kind of stuff. So I think you're dead on with that. I think she just ended up as the lesser of all the evils of like, okay, well, listen, I like what she brings. They all look great. You couldn't really find fault. I mean, honestly, like it's like, well, honestly, you could have jumbled these results in a hat to me. And if it was any three ways, I wouldn't. I don't think anybody really would have complained.
You're like, I like them all. Just don't.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
Listen, how do you complain with what you're looking? I mean, you're looking at three of the again. They all bring a little something unique. They all bring, Eduarda's a little bit taller, a little bit leaner. Okay, great. Yeah. Francielle, man, she's just thick and she's got those, those glutes just boom. Like, there's a reason she's a 3-time Olympic, right? And then you got, you got Isabelle there, who's just again she's got a little bit of everything. So
yeah,
if it was jumbled up 9 different ways of any way you could do these three, I don't know if anybody would. You can't really complain. Again, is there anything any one of them could have done? No, not in my opinion. No.
Well, here was the victor. Okay, we have Isabelle Nunes coming in. She is the front runner of the Wellness International, and this is the look, ladies. This is the look that the judges are sending the message to everyone in the industry right now. You always can count on that the champion of the Olympia is the standard. Okay, she set the tone. She's coming into the Arnold, and like you said, what needs to change? Nothing. If she brings this package, she may walk away with it. What do you think?
Well, you got a repeat of the Olympia, minus Francielle, who's not in the show. And I got to give a shout out to Giselle Machado, who I didn't see her name on the list, but she's again
I was hoping she would be, but she didn't. Yeah, she decided not to do it.
Yeah, well, again, to each their own. It's listen, everybody's got families and work and business and things. So for whatever her reasons, but I've always liked her physique. I love Giselle, but anyway, but she's not there. We're going to focus on who is. This is a rematch of the Olympia. Now, under normal circumstances, I would have Isabelle in a front runner position of, well, it's going to be kind of tough to knock off. However, I got a sneaky suspicion that her and Eduarda both had first place votes at the Olympia. So this is kind of a toss up. Obviously, we got to see who brings it on game day. Assuming they both come in, close to 100%. This is going to be another one of those things where it literally can kind of go either way because they're both that good. And they both present very well. They're both very similar in their physiques and their presentation. Again, this is going to be one of those things. Okay, does one shine more than the other? Did one nail it a little more than the other? What did the judges see? It's more of a fight to me. Like these two will be fighting for 1 and 2. Right. I don't care what happens.
Oh, okay. I feel so bad. I didn't even notice this, but I was wondering how Alisa, she walked off to the side, and I think that she had a little bit of a suit malfunction. I didn't even realize that.
It's luckily we got a great staff backstage that tends to business.
She did a great job because I didn't even realize that until now. I thought maybe they wanted to like pull because she's going to be on stage too. and the judges loved Alisa matched up with the other
Yeah.
three ladies. So we're gonna see Alisa for sure. I think up in the
Oh, yeah.
mix, up in the top. I mean, it's a bummer that I don't have her, here
Well,
because it's a
it's
bummer.
wide open. It's wide open for two positions because again, Franciele Matos is not in the show and Giselle Machado is not in the show.
Right.
Okay, so if we're going by the Olympia, you had Isabelle Nunes, Eduarda, and Alisa. Okay, so they're all in. That would be 1, 2, and 3 hypothetically. So
Yeah.
4 and 5 is wide open.
Right.
And again, that can be any of the girls that we just put in. Cass Gillis is certainly a contender in there. At least in Meiswinkel, I can easily see, in that she will be in that top 5 in my opinion. But the fight to me is more on that 4th and 5th, or anybody can sneak in there. But the top 2 are pretty much locked up. But it will be very interesting to see what they bring, and if anybody breaks the code red here, can we can we see a different color in there, or are we going to be cross the board again?
I know. Well, we don't. So Giselle here. This was this is the top 10 from the finals. We don't have Rayon there either. She's always in the mix, and we don't have her in the lineup. But we do have Cassandra here, and
Oh yeah,
yes. So let's see who. So Cassandra, and honestly, I'm such a fan of all these ladies. I'm interested to see what Cassandra does because we've only had 3 champions. And unlike the Olympia where we had Francielle go back to back to back, we've had 3 different champions.
yeah.
So is Isa going to come with the first 2-time ever in history? That's the question.
Could be, like I said, it's again, you got a rematch here, and it's so hard to call. Again, you literally got to have it on game day, and assuming both bring 100%, if it was tied, so to say, with that, it would probably go to the incumbent champ. But listen, we've seen plenty of upsets at this past Olympia. We've seen. Listen, the judges, even though they take a lot of heat, they do a hell of a job. It is not an easy job. And the easiest, oddly enough, the easiest stuff to judge is like the men's stuff, like the men's bodybuilding, the 212. The more muscular you get, like the more extreme you get, the easier it is to judge. People just stand out and they have better shape and proportion and stuff like that. Where it gets tough is these, like bikini is incredibly hard. Men's physique is incredibly hard because you've got so many physiques that look great and look similar because the level of muscularity and conditioning is about even. So now it just becomes small little things that you got 10 guys up there that you go, wow, I got to pick 5 of these guys to go in the top 5. And it's not easy, man. It's a tough job. I mean, I'd much rather be on a microphone. Trust me.
Yeah, it is tough, but I think we'll see. It's definitely going to be an exciting matchup because we have Isabelle, who's the front runner. She just came off of her Olympia win, but we also have some amazing women that are nipping at her heels, and we could have a shakeup. So honestly, I think this is going to be a very exciting lineup. I think the results could go so many different directions. It's really hard to predict, but even though it's hard to predict, do you have any predictions that you want to throw out there?
Well, I mean, if a gun's to my head, top 3.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy. I mean, I'll take the top 3 from the Olympia in a rematch. So I'll take Isabelle, I'll take Eduarda, and I'll take Alisa Alcantara. To me, that would be very difficult. If anybody has a shot to upset that apple cart, it's probably Lisa Meiswinkel. Like I say, if there's a dark horse, so to say.
What about Cassandra Gillis?
Cassandra, again, she's got to be lean enough. She has, like I say, she's just built a little bit thicker than the other girls. But she did come in leaner her last show, so I wouldn't count her out. But she would have I think she would have a more difficult time beating those top 2. But she could go as high as 3rd. I mean, I don't think there's any question about it. And who knows? Maybe a superstar emerges that just goes out there and rocks the world. That's what I like about, again, the judges catch a lot of flack, but they did I don't think I disagreed with one division that they had at the Olympia. I mean, everything was pretty much spot on. I mean, you can always make it. Listen, when you start getting into fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, listen, you can make a case for a lot of different people for that, for those top spots, for the winners, for the repeats, for the and news, and again, and 5 times, 7 times. I thought they did a hell of a job, and we'll see. Listen, we'll see. Even though they don't have all the divisions at the Arnold, we'll see the best of the best shine once again. So I'll just be excited that the season's finally starting.
Yes. Well, I'm honestly very excited. I think that we have some newer faces that are going to be coming on the scene that we aren't necessarily used to seeing, and that could totally shake it up. We have a couple athletes that have taken some time off. That can always make a huge difference in the outcome. So I'm just excited for this division. I'm excited to see what happens, and I wish all the women the best of luck. Any final thoughts from you, Bob?
Listen, 7 weeks, everybody out, train smarter, not harder. Stay healthy. Hearts go out to everybody. I know you're in California there, so luckily you're out of harm's way. So we'll keep our thoughts and prayers with everybody, of all of our competitors and people we know. Unfortunately, I do know a few people who have lost their homes. It's just a terrible tragedy, but we'll get past that. Well, the bodybuilding world will be alive and well in 7 weeks. So we'll see everybody in Columbus.
Yes, I know. My heart goes out to everybody. Luckily, I'm spared right now, and I feel blessed about that. But my heart is definitely sinking for everybody in the LA area. So everybody stay safe, train hard, and go after what you're shooting for. And until next time, we will see you all on the flip side. Bye, guys.